And if we're talking about going forward, implementation won't be our responsibility, as I mentioned. It's the responsibility of the county. I wouldn't presume to spend the county's money. But what we can do is provide a lot of information that will make that whole process easier. There's different ways that the pay progression system can be implemented, how you get pay increases. Right now you use a pay step plan, and most of the counties do, but there's different ways to design that step system. And we will go over those options, outline those options, and show cost impacts for the county to consider how they might implement the new system. The final report itself will be more than just a study. It's going to be designed as a system. So as you go forward with your new pay system and your new pay grade structure, the tools will be there to keep it current and to do reclassification requests and essentially do all the things necessary to maintain the system in a current state. We'll provide instruction in system usage so that, again, if there are changes that need to be made, they can be done using all of the tools that we used. The final report is going to be very large. It's going to include really everything, all of the results of all of the steps that took place during the study process. The job descriptions will be in the report, the point factor analysis, the point factor plan that we use for the analysis, all of the market data. Essentially, if you care to look at that study, you'll be able to follow our whole methodology from start to finish. And I think that's important for a couple of reasons. One is simply transparency. The objective here is just to be open with this study process and to come up with the best system possible, really for everybody concerned. The final report itself will be presented to the Board of Commissioners, and what I will try to do with that presentation is give them a good overview of exactly what we've done, how we've gone through the study process, and what we've arrived at. And again, that's, I think, vital for them to make decisions on, first off, simply adopting the new plan, but second, how it's going to be implemented going forward. So that's kind of in a nutshell the 4 phases of this study process. And I want to go over this job questionnaire with all of you, but before I do that, we have questions on this whole study process. This is your opportunity to get some detail if you like.
What's your estimate on the final report?
Timing-wise?
Yeah.
We'll be looking at about 4 months, I think, right in that area. The unknown variable on this is the market survey itself, because we're going to have to rely on the other counties to get the information back to us in a timely manner. And that happens sometimes, and sometimes it takes a little follow-up.
When do the surveys have to be back in?
I'll get to that in a minute, but just to answer your question now, do you mean the job questionnaires? Or the job questionnaires will be July 31st. And it is July, and people will be on vacation, so if there's anyone that can't make that deadline, then you might want to notify your department head and see if we can extend that a bit. I would think we're talking about a process in filling that questionnaire out of about an hour. So probably you'll be able to get it done by July 31st, I think. And it would be real helpful if everyone does. We can keep this thing moving forward and make sure that we get this study done in time for decision making for the next fiscal year. So any other questions? And you'll be able to ask questions certainly at the end of this, so I'll go ahead and get into the questionnaire and we can come back to questions. Okay, the job analysis questionnaire itself. As I mentioned, this is really your chance to participate in the study. The job descriptions aren't new. They've been around a while, and undoubtedly there are things that you do that aren't fully represented in the current job descriptions. So this is your opportunity to make me aware as we get into the study process of exactly what your job entails, so it doesn't get undervalued in any way. I think it's important also just to have participation in the project. Ultimately, everyone in this room and everyone in this study is impacted by this study. So it's important, as I mentioned, to make sure we understand all of the jobs completely. And it's important also just to keep it open so that there is an exchange of information and some level of participation. We're only going to require one questionnaire completed for each job classification. So if you're in a classification that has more than one person, if you are, do we have any paramedics in this? Yes, okay. So we have more than one paramedic in a classification.
They won't be included in this study, however.
It won't?
No, they will not.
Won't be? Okay. Okay.
They're in the bargaining unit.
They're just here to appreciate the presentation.
He's a supervisor.
Gotcha. If we had paramedics in the study, we have more than one person in the paramedic classification. What we would require is only one questionnaire coming back from the paramedics to be completed. What I would suggest is that there's two different ways to do this if you're in one of those classifications with multiple employees. One would be to designate someone to fill it out. The other would be to fill it out as a group and have the input of everyone. So if you're in one of those classifications, that's how you want to approach it. Ultimately, as I said, we've got about 200 classifications, so we should end up getting one back from each of those jobs. So for this meeting, I'll go over how to fill that questionnaire out, and each of you should have brought a hard copy to the meeting, and also hopefully a copy of your job description, because if you use your job description along with the questionnaire when you're filling this out, it goes a lot easier, and I'll explain how that works. There's an electronic version of this questionnaire that's available as well, and I think most of you will probably prefer to use that electronic version. It doesn't matter. You'll be printing this off at the end of the completion. So either way that you're comfortable with, just go ahead. The important thing is certainly to get it done. And as I mentioned, if you just follow along a bit, I think you'll see it's pretty easy to complete. So the questionnaire itself, what you'll see on the first page of that questionnaire on the top is just some general information, your name, your job title, who you report to, the kind of information that I need to just understand how to categorize your particular questionnaire. That's pretty straightforward. One point, if you are in one of those classifications with multiple people, it would be very helpful if you would, or you as a group would, list everyone's name that's in that classification on a sheet of paper and just attach it to the front of this. So I'm aware of everybody that is in that classification and at least had some acknowledgement of the job questionnaire being completed. As the gentleman asked, you'll see under the instructions on the first page, the due date on this thing is July 31st. So that's when we're hoping to have them all back. And I'll talk about how those should be packaged and where they should go and the like in a minute. But if you look at the bottom of page 1, this is where we get into the actual filling out of this job questionnaire. And on the bottom of page 1, we ask for a position summary. This is where your job description comes into play. When you fill this out, whether you're doing it on the computer or with the hard copy, you should have your job description handy. It should just be sitting there next to your screen or next to your hard copy. What you'll want to do with the position summary is first look at your job description, and you'll see that your job description already has a position summary, your old one. There's one on there. Give that a read and see if it is something that needs to be replaced or corrected. If you read it and you find that it's fine, that it fairly summarizes the major features of your job, just place a check on the old job description. You're going to be submitting that with your questionnaire, and I'll know that you found that to be an acceptable position summary. If it's mostly acceptable but it needs some change, something that can be done with a couple of words or a couple of phrases, go ahead and make those changes right on your old job description, just in pencil. Put them right in on the job description. If it's just wholly inaccurate, it doesn't describe your job, put an X through it, cross it out, and then you will go to the job questionnaire and do your best to provide a new job summary that in 3 or 4 sentences describes your job. So any questions on that? Great. So ultimately, I'll be reviewing all of these. And again, we're really working a participative process here. What I'll be looking to do is use yours to the extent that I can. And after reviewing the rest of the job questionnaire, inputting any changes that I think are necessary to make it a little bit better. So between the two of us, I think we can come up with a good job summary for each one of your job descriptions. If you're really uncomfortable with putting that summary together, just do the best you can. I'm not looking for the perfect grammar, and I'm not looking in every case for the perfect summary.